Fingers crossed that is working. We shall see. We shall see. But anyway. Let's pop that out of there. Let's make that a bit bigger there. Let's move that across there. Actually, let's make that a bit smaller. There we go. Good. Now I can see the comments, which is always helpful. Always helpful. So, am I in Preston? No, I'm not in Preston. I am not in Preston. Why do you ask? So I'm in Bristol. We've got an advisor in Sheffield. We've got an advisor in Salisbury and London, but we work with people all over the UK. So geography is not important. We can work with people anywhere, essentially. So yeah. Do 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 do. 40k deposit, you earn 25k a year. Could you afford a first home? That depends how much the home costs, how much you're looking for. Without knowing how much you're looking to buy, you can't say. Do you have your own company or work for a bigger company? I have my own company. It is my company. Self-employed. SA 302 sufficient. Do I need pay slips as well? You'd need both. You'd also then need to find a lender that will take employed and self-employed income into account. So, yes, but yeah, you will need both. Let me move this up a touch. And let's move that there. Now let's move that there. Oh, thank you for the follow. You've seen what happens when you follow. I have poor credit now, but clear it up. If I have poor credit now, but clear it up and keep clean for 3 years, could I then apply? It depends what your poor credit is now, because any issues will remain on a credit file for 6 years. So it just depends what's going to sit on there for 6 years. Do any lenders not take both, though? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It depends on the situation as to how long each have been going on. But yeah, some don't take 2 jobs into account. They have to decide whether it's going to be viable to have 2 sources of income. But yeah. So yeah, it's important to use a broker so you can find a lender that will take both into account for you. Ah, beautiful. How long does a mortgage take to be approved? There's no set time. It depends on the complexity of the case. It depends on how the workload of the lender. Also, what's going on. So from putting in an application to getting an offer, roughly 2 weeks. But again, that could be longer. It could be shorter. Is getting into mortgage broker as a career worth to do it, do you think? Yeah, it's worth it if you want to do it. I already have a mortgage and remortgage in a year. This month I had a payment decline for Netflix. Oh, that's interesting. Did you then make it quickly? Netflix don't record on credit files, so that's not a problem. Couple with poor credit and excellent credit, and you purchase it enough. It depends what you mean by poor credit, because it will go off the worst case credit file. It just depends what the specifics of that poor credit are. Is HSBC rates changing a good sign for the market? No, because on the same day that they announced they're decreasing, others increased. I have a dip with Skipton. How likely they approve my mortgage application, no deposit? It depends whether you fit their lending criteria or not. If you've got anything quirky on your credit file, chances are they won't, because if you're applying for the track record mortgage, they want an element of solid credit history. I'm an IVA. How can I get a business loan? I don't know. We do mortgages, not business loans. Had survey come back with structural problems. What's your advice going forward? See how severe they are. If you are in love with the property, you can see if the vendor will reduce the price or even get the structural issues sorted. As long as you haven't exchanged, you can still walk away. Just don't exchange, because then you are legally bound to buy the property. Can I buy my council house place on right to buy scheme and get a mortgage on SICK and PIP? Potentially. Can you buy a house with a 50k deposit? You'll need income. You'll need more than just a 50k deposit. You will need some sort of income. But yeah, 50k deposit, as long as it's either 5% or 10%, you'll be all right. Benefits an offset mortgage. Well, if you can find an offset mortgage, they're not very common anymore. Can you get a loan to pay for stamp duty? No, because, well, you can do, but it will affect your affordability. And also, if you take a loan out once your application is ongoing, then it could screw up your application. So I wouldn't. I've got 620 credit. So credit score is irrelevant. Credit score is meaningless. It's the actual what's on your credit file for the last 6 years. Can I be a first-time buyer and get a buy-to-let mortgage? Yes, you can. If I keep changing who I work for, would it affect me getting a Morgan's? Captain Morgan and Coke? Is that? My car finance balloon payment is due the same time as a remortgage. Should I use mortgage to cover it? Absolutely not. You don't buy a car using a mortgage. Why is my lender taking 989 on interest of 1.2k? You need to look at your paperwork. That will answer that one. Is deposit money gifted from parents in Vietnam difficult to find a solicitor? You need to prove that money, where it's come from. Not many lenders will accept it, I don't think. That's an interesting one. Yeah, that's an interesting one. How you prove the gift, where it's come from. Best mortgage for renters. Stuck renting for 8+ years and struggled to save for a high deposit. There is a lender called Skipton who have a product called a track record mortgage, which takes your rent payment as assessment of your affordability. So you don't need a deposit, but you need to consider whether that product is suitable for you. Do lenders do a final check before exchange? Yes. Yes, they do. You message me privately or email? Best to email. Best to book in a call, to be honest, because relaying things over email might get misconstrued. So just book in a call. But if you want to book, if you want to email, then feel free to do so. I work in commission focused role. How many months pay slips will a bank want to look at? 3 months pay slips. May also want to see your P60 so they can confirm the commission. That was from last year. Is 5.24 a good rate? I don't know, because I don't know anything of your circumstances. Is it worth paying for a mortgage broker when I'm happy with the mortgage in principle that Halifax that gave me to see if there's better interest rate? Well, do you know for certain that you're going to be accepted by Halifax? A mortgage in principle is meaningless, really. Only when it goes through to underwriting. You might not suit the lending criteria of Halifax. So you could apply to them and waste your time because they might decline it, and therefore you've then got a hard credit search on your file, and you can only do 1 or 2 of those before it starts becoming an issue. Just go to a broker and get it right. Can you get a bet? Can I be getting carer's allowance and get a mortgage with part-time income if affordable? Potentially. Lenders do take some benefits into account, so yes, you can potentially do that. Due to complete a new home in 2 weeks, do you think Bank of England will hold tracker rates this month? If you're, they don't hold tracker. They hold their base rate. The trackers respond to that. I suspect they'll maintain the rate. But if you're buying on a tracker, you need to ask some serious questions about that. What is remortgaging? I've heard the term a lot, but never understood what it is. Essentially, it's just refinancing your loan. So you will have, say you take out a deal with Nationwide for 5 years. At the end of that 5 years, you then refinance that loan and move it to a new lender for potentially better rates, better terms. So that's remortgaging. So you're mortgaging again, probably on a smaller amount because you would have repaid some off. So yeah, you're just remortgaging onto a new lender. Waiting to complete. Can I still use my credit cards up to the value of what point of approval? No, just don't. Don't spend on credit cards or anything. Is there a formula which I use to calculate if I should mortgage a flat or still rent? How do you mean? There's not going to be a calculator that will answer that question. You might want to find some sort of remortgage, some repayment calculator. But there's other things that come into that question rather than just the costs. There's a lot of things that go into that. If I've got consent to let with 2-year term ending in January, can I remortgage onto another? You'll have to remortgage onto a buy-to-let product. You'll need to switch to buy-to-let. Ported another mortgage from previous house, then reborrowed on a tracker. Will combine in July 25. Right, so I see. So you're bringing your sub-accounts into line. Yeah. So from that aspect, yep. Yeah, makes sense. I don't see... I could be wrong, but I don't see a base rate reduction before the end of the year. If I use crypto profits to get a mortgage but a full-time job, would it be a problem? Yes, because lenders don't like crypto. They won't accept deposits from crypto. Me and my partner got a mortgage a year ago. Can one pay extra? What? If you want to overpay, you need to check the terms of your mortgage. If you're allowed to overpay, it will say in the paperwork. If it says yes, then yes, you can overpay. Do all adults living at the property have to be on the mortgage? No, but they have to be declared as residing in the property. Is it better to get a mortgage from a bank or a private investor? I wouldn't trust a private investor. They're not going to be at all regulated, are they? Private lenders or banks are better, or does it depend? What do you mean by a private lender? You can borrow from banks and building societies. What we're talking about by private investors, private lenders, what are we talking about? Chances are they won't be regulated investors, that kind of stuff. I'm going to be on an IVA. Will I still be able to rent? I don't know. That's up to your landlord. 2 or 5 year fixed depends on your situation. Do overpayments automatically come off the capital, or do you need to... 9 out of 10 times, yes, but I would still check with your lender to make sure that that does happen. If a partner moves in mid-term, do you have to notify the bank? No. This is a businessman which is willing to borrow 200k. Right, do that at your own risk. That's got dodginess written all over it. There is no way they are regulated. No. Hard no. God. Can you explain a zero deposit, an advantage and disadvantage? Well, zero deposit. Our advantages are you don't have to put a deposit down. Disadvantages are you have to borrow 100%. There is a risk of negative equity. It's a high rate. That's about it. Is it impossible to get a mortgage from a partner when I'm on a PhD stipend and he has income? No, it's not impossible. No. After 5 year fixed mortgage, can we do the same for 5 years? Or you can do if that's deemed suitable for your needs. What's the impact of a high loan to value on my mortgage rates and fees? No impact on fees, but a high loan to value, you'll probably be paying a higher interest. Generally, the lower your loan to value, the better the rate. Should all occupants of a home be on the deeds? No. Is it best to get a mortgage now, as I heard housing market is increasing again? You've got to remember that if you're taking a mortgage, it's going to be over what, 25, 30, 35 years. There's going to be numerous ups and downs in that. If you're waiting for the perfect climate, it's never going to happen. So you'll be waiting forever and it's probably just going to cost you money. Why does my bank not notify me when rates drop when I've secured my PT rate? Because they're not obliged to. That's why you should have gone through a broker. Go through a broker and we'll keep an eye on it and we'll change it. Do you think mortgage rates will come down? Possibly at some point in the future. I also think they'll go up. There's no way to answer that. If you get accepted on a mortgage, how long does it last, or is it once you accept the offer? So when a mortgage offer is produced, they generally last for 6 months. Can I get a mortgage if my partner has a loan? Yes, you can get mortgages with existing debts. It just affects your affordability. Do you have an office? I'm sitting in my office. How do you buy your next house after being a first-time buyer? I assume we're talking selling the existing one and buying the next one. You hopefully have equity in your property. You can use that equity to put down a deposit on a new place and move. It's a bit of a long-winded thing to explain, I'm afraid. I can't redo it on TikTok. I have a default on my credit file, but it's 5 years old. Should I wait to apply for a mortgage? You'll be able to do it now. There are lenders that will accept that. You just have to see, what it looks like in a year's time. Who knows what rates will be? Who knows what house prices will be? But yeah, you can do it now. Can you put a mortgage more than once? Yes, potentially, as long as everything stacks up. What do lenders look for on bank statements? Loads of things. Fraud, criminal activity, any big expenditure that needs reasons behind it. Matching your pay slips, match the bank statements. Loads of things. Coming to remortgage, in your opinion, what's the best term to fix into? It totally depends on what your circumstances are and what your needs are. Crikey, loads of questions flying through. Apologies if I miss your question. How do rising interest rates impact the total cost of tracker mortgage versus fixed rate? Well, it'll get more expensive. You'll pay more interest. If you're on a fixed rate, then your interest rate is fixed. Can we get a mortgage after 1 year come to UK if you have 25% deposit? Yeah, probably. Can I port a mortgage? I've just changed jobs. Yes, you should be able to. If you have a mortgage rejected, how long after can you apply again? Straight away if you want. Sounds to me like you're trying to do it yourself though, so you could be fighting a losing battle. Porting our mortgage and need a second loan for a difference on a new property. Advice, please. You will only really be able to get that from your existing lender, so you'll have to take additional borrowing with the existing lender. Can you get a mortgage? I've answered that question. What are the first steps for a mortgage? I hold an EU passport and have indefinite leave to remain. That's fine. So that's all right. You need to contact a mortgage broker and they will talk you, well, we will talk you through the steps of being a first-time buyer, looking at what's possible for you, what you can borrow, what deposit you need, all that kind of stuff, and explain the process. Does your credit history affect the rate offered, or does it purely mean yes or no being offered one? Okay, so in a roundabout way, it can affect the rate you're offered. Because if you've got issues on your credit file, then it might mean we have to go to certain lenders. Now, they might be more specific lenders, and as a result, their rates might be slightly higher. So therefore, you would pay a higher rate. It's not based on the content of your file and then the lender thinks, right, we're going to apply this rate to it. It's just whether you match up with their lending criteria and which lender you have to go to. What's the biggest reason for banks to reject mortgage applications? There's loads of them. If I transfer my flat from private ownership to a limited company, can the buy-to-let mortgage be transferred? No. Essentially, your limited company is having to buy that property. So there's going to be stamp duty implications and you need to get a new mortgage because it's going to be then in the limited company's name. So yeah, you have to get a new mortgage. I have 50% share in my current house, a shared ownership. Will 50k income, 6 times income apply to me? No. Is it possible to have a mortgage without deposit? Yes, it is, but there are products which are for specific circumstances and criteria. It's not mainstream that you can get 100% mortgage, but there are a couple of ways to do it. Past hard credit check and affordability with flying colours. Past underwriters now. Right, fine. How much deposit is required for a buy-to-let? 25%. Had a mortgage offer 4 months ago, waiting for conveyancer. Will I need to provide more wage slips? No, your offer's out. You've got your offer. It's been assessed. That's fine. That offer is only valid for 6 months, though, in most cases. So you need to move on with that. Is there much difference in monthlies between 5% deposit and 10% deposit? Yeah, there will be. Yeah. Because with a 10% deposit, there's a couple of things. With a 10% deposit, you're going to have to borrow less. Also, your rate will be lower. So there's a couple of things that go in your favour there. Is it better to get a mortgage in your name or limited company? Depends on what you're looking to do. Depends what the situation is. Whether you're perhaps looking to get a portfolio of properties to buy under a limited company. Depends what your tax band is. Loads of things. It just totally varies. It's all on your individual circumstances. You'll need to get some tax advice so you can understand the ins and outs of the tax implications of doing it. But yeah, you'll need to get that certainly. Have around 50k equity in the house. Is it worth pulling some out for a deposit on another place? When you say another place, are you talking something like a buy-to-let? Or if you're thinking of selling and buying, then yeah, you would generally use that equity as deposit. I'm a first-time buyer. I don't currently have a mortgage, but have one in the past 4 years. No, you're not a first-time buyer. If I clear debt just for mortgage, would it still be taken into account? No, if it's gone, it's gone. It's good. It may still show on the credit file, but if you've got statements showing it's cleared, then we can provide that to the lender and say, look, you can ignore it off the credit file because it has been satisfied. Do I need a credit card to buy my first home? No, absolutely not. That's a myth. You need a credit history. So if you've been paying your mobile phone or your utilities or what else, car insurance, all that kind of stuff, then you'll have a credit footprint. I'm 20 years old and about to come into 50k. How shall I go about getting my first mortgage? Speak to a mortgage broker and they will help you out. They will explain how much you can borrow, how much you can afford, and therefore, how much you can buy. If my credit history isn't the best, but my partner's one is great, can we be accepted? It will go on the worst case credit file. So you'll need to speak to a mortgage broker and match the bad stuff with lenders that will accommodate it. Pointless speaking to you. You just keep ignoring my message. Well, with an attitude like that, is it really a surprise? It's the first time I've seen a message from you. And if you were here earlier, you'd have heard me apologising for missing some comments that go through so quickly. God, some people. I'm a week before completion and want to order a sofa on credit. Would you recommend it? Absolutely no, I would not recommend that. Absolutely not. Do not take anything. Don't do anything that's going to jeopardise your application prior to completion, such as buying things on credit, putting things on a credit card, changing jobs, all that kind of stuff. Just wait till completion to do it. Does debt to utilities company impact on application? Can do, but some lenders ignore it. How many payslips do I need in a new job? Some lenders will do it off a signed employment contract, so potentially none. Others will want 1, some will want 3. And they all have different criteria and appetites, all kinds of different things. So if it varies, you just need to make sure. 5 times I sent it. Funny how you missed it every time. Well, I'm not going to answer it now, am I? Your attitude stinks, so jog on. Can you have 2 mortgages on one property? You can do, but one will probably be a second charge mortgage. Grow up. Yeah, grow up, whatever your name is. I've got one fixed for 1% over 2 years. So you can potentially you could have one mortgage with a provider and then 2 sub accounts. That could potentially work. If you want 2 mortgages from different lenders, one's called a first charge and one is called a second charge. Second charge mortgages are very expensive. Our funds are going across Thursday. Is it a quick process from there? Not necessarily, because there can be a gap between exchange and completion. So you pay your deposit on exchange. So that's why you're probably putting your funds across now. It just depends on the rest of the chain, potentially, if there is one. I'm a bankruptcy. I'm gradually building my credit check. Will I eventually be able to buy? Yeah, you will be able to. Why is the first mortgage payment higher? We're remortgaging. Because it's like taking out a new mobile phone contract. They charge you for a month and a bit up front. It all depends on billing cycles as to when things are charged. How does the deposit work with Help to Buy? As in a Help to Buy ISA. If it's a Help to Buy ISA, you're talking about your solicitor will request the funds and therefore the bonus as well. When my 2-year fix comes to an end, can I fix for 5 years with the same lender? You can do, yeah, that's called a product transfer. Do you right to buy mortgages? Nah, not anymore. We stopped doing them. What happens if you breach the terms of your P? Of your P? What's your P? What's your P? How do you get a mortgage? How do you get your mortgage in your credit report? I'll state in July and it was on there yet. Well, wait, it'll be on there. It will be on there eventually. Credit files don't update instantly. They take a few months. What's the largest deposit you can have? As I'm able to provide 90 of the house is cash. You can provide as much as you want. You can provide 90% deposit if you want. If it's cash, you're going to need to prove where it's come from. For a first-time buyer, what ISA do you recommend? I don't, because I'm not an IFA. But probably a lifetime ISA, because then you get money from the government. How to buy a property with someone else's financial assistance, but don't want them named. Not one for us, thanks. I am an underwriter stage. What does this mean? It means that the lender is assessing the risk of your application, and they will make a decision on whether they're going to lend to you or not. I took a 5-year fix and since moved, not settled. Can I sell and move back? I don't know what you're asking, sorry. Should you aim to try to pay off your mortgage as soon as possible? Yeah, if you want to be mortgage free, absolutely. Yeah, of course. It's like anything. The sooner you pay it off, the quicker it's yours. And also, if you pay it off quicker, you'll pay less interest. How many months of bank statements do I need to provide mortgage because I'm self-employed? 3 months bank statements, but at least a year's accounts. Should you be worried about a remortgage if your credit score has dropped since taking it out? Not necessarily. Well, if you've had big credit issues, such as defaults, CCJs, you've taken out an IVA or something, then yeah, you should be worried about a remortgage. But this is the problem. People get fixated with credit score, and it's pointless because credit score isn't the be-all and end-all. It's the content of the credit file itself. Buy a property with someone else's financial assistance, like a guarantor. What happens if you breach the terms of your mortgage? Then they can repossess the property, or they can just call it in, which means you've got to pay it back. Yeah, or they'll repossess it. Few current accounts, will this affect my mortgage? No. You may well have to provide statements for all the accounts, though. Have my mortgage accepted and completed, and my solicitors asked for 3 months bank statements. Why? Maybe proof of where the deposit has come from. Who's known for being the strictest lenders? They're all strict. They all have their criteria that they stick to. Can I get a mortgage with 1 year accounts? Potentially, yes. Ways to invest in property you currently own. Right, I have to probably get some lunch, I think. Right, I'm going to call this a day because I've got to go and get some lunch. Before some calls, so if you're not following, do hit the follow. Actually, hit the follow button and watch what happens to that. Go on, it's cool. Go on, someone hit the follow button and watch. Here we go. Give it a sec. There he goes. How cool is that? Very good. Anyway, yeah, simple things. It's my new toy. I got it yesterday. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, do follow for more, rather than just making that tick over. Follow because I go live regularly to try and help you out, answer your questions. And of course, if you do want to get in touch and get us to help you sort a mortgage out or protection or a will, then do feel free to reach out because we are here to assist you and make your life easier and stress-free because that's the whole concept of Mellow. So thank you for joining me. And yeah, maybe I'll see you next time. It's just a quick one today. But yeah, if you're following, you'll get more. Take care and see you again soon. Do you do buy-to-let mortgages? Yes, we do. We do buy-to-let, residential, limited company buy-to-lets. We do remortgages. We do help to buy repayment remortgages. We do debt consolidation. We do wills. We do life insurance, income protection, something called MetLife, critical illness. We do loads of things. So don't hesitate to get in touch and we will